On January 25th, the Greek voters elected a government which is fundamentally committed to a change of policies in Europe, and to change those policies inside Europe, not outside of it. The question for European democracy is whether that government will be permitted to survive, whether Greece will be permitted to maintain its position inside Europe, and whether it will have a chance to implement changes of policy which stand a prospect of improving economic conditions after 5 years of unmitigated and catastrophic failure. The first month has been a very difficult one, littered with obstacles. I would say a minefield of payment deadlines and demands that negotiated agreements be reached, and under conditions which have been rather aggressively imposed by the European partners, in particular by the institutions formerly known as the Troika and by the European Central Bank. Now, we may be, as a result of the actions of the Greek government, which raised these questions to the political level just in the last few days and brought them to the European Council, in a position where we are coming to the end of this period when it will be more or less accepted that the Greek government is a stable, politically stable and intellectually serious government with a coherent program of reforms, of change from the previous policies. And if that's the case, then I think you have some prospect that conditions in Greece may stabilize, even begin to improve. And when that happens, you will see an acceleration of the change of ideas all across the south of Europe and all across Europe as a whole, because it will become clear that there is an alternative. And the entire preconception of the past 5 years has been based on the premise that there is no alternative, and therefore nothing that resembles an alternative can remotely begin to be allowed. Well, the government of Alexis Tsipras in Greece has challenged that proposition. It is a very, let's say, brave thing that they've done, but I think it really should be something that everyone in Europe who is concerned that Europe itself has been heading down a dangerously wrong road should be paying very close attention to and lending their support.
Monetary union principle was a good idea. It was the consequent evolution out of a system of fixed exchange rate with smaller countries being attached to the D-Mark, to the German currency, which was the lead currency. And so the step into monetary union was the right step forward. But unfortunately, first the construction principles, the constitution of the monetary union is already faulty. It is too much based on the fiscal side, on government debt and government deficits, which is not important for monetary union really. And then second, it was very badly managed. Once the crisis came, 2008, 2009, we saw that the political leaders were not able to react adequately. They forced countries to cut down expenditure in the midst of a crisis, in a recession, and they forced the cut of wages, which was even worse because that immediately, indirectly cut domestic demand, and with the cut of domestic demand, we saw rising unemployment. So all these things have to be reversed, just the other way around. What we need is expansionary fiscal policies now for bridging the gap till the wages can rise again. So wages have to be adjusted. German wages have to rise more so that we get an adjustment without having deflation all the time. And what we need in addition is to expansionary monetary policy, expansionary fiscal policy. And again, Germany has to lead the pack, so to say, because Germany is the country that looks the most solid at this moment of time. Why? Because Germany has relied on the debt of others. So Germany needs a lot of debt, but from other countries, and that has to be changed. Germany has to engage in its own indebtedness and not just rely on other countries. It cannot continue with, say, more than 200 billion of new debt every year that other countries have to take on to make the German economy running. That cannot go on.
And as long as they do that, we will never get it right.
The program was a failure.
I think the investment plan, one of the key aspects is recognizing that there is an important investment shortfall and an important investment shortfall in terms of productive investment. I think it's also an important element within the current plan to recognize and put jobs on par with investment and growth, and I think this is very much welcome. I think what's important moving forward is to recognize that importance of jobs in the implementation process. And this means giving important consideration to how the projects are assessed and how the projects are approved, and also in terms of their implementation, and making sure that throughout this process that there is an element of job richness throughout that. And I think this will be important in terms of creating the jobs I think that are needed, but also in particular for those people who are long-term unemployed, so if some targeting could be associated within that. And only then, I think, will we really see a path to sustainable job recovery.
Qu'est-ce qu'il nous faut? Il nous faut quand même pas mal de choses. Et faire comme si de rien n'était, et regarder passer. Des menaces qui sont pas clairement formulées, c'est que le thème de la transition écologique serve à accélérer encore les travers du capitalisme dans lequel on est. C'est-à-dire faire plus de marché dans le marché et plus de finance dans le finance. Alors plus de marché dans le marché, voilà, il y a l'exemple du marché des droits à polluer, qui a échoué, mais qui a permis, là encore, de faire de la spéculation, toutes sortes de choses. Il y a le marché des services écologiques. Le marché des services écologiques, c'est que vous détruisez un système écologique quelque part, on trouve une valeur monétaire de ce que vous avez détruit, et ces titres sont échangés, et ça donne un marché des services écologiques. Et j'achète des éléphants que j'ai détruits quelque part contre des pigeons que je vais mettre quelque part. C'est de la folie furieuse. C'est en plein développement. Plus de finance avec la finance. On est en train de faire toutes sortes de produits financiers qui sont des pseudo-assurances contre les risques écologiques, qui sont de même nature que les subprimes et qui un jour vont nous exploser à la tête. Si on arrive à éviter ça, et j'en parle justement pour qu'on évite, après il y a une série d'opportunités. La trajectoire dans laquelle on est lancé, les esprits raisonnables se rendent compte que elle va nulle part et qu'il faut changer de trajectoire. Alors changer de trajectoire, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire toutes les choses qu'on sait, hein, faire des produits plus propres, faire ceci, etc. Mais c'est surtout des nouveaux modèles, des modèles de ce qu'on appelle l'économie circulaire, c'est-à-dire qui sont plus territorialisés et dans lesquels on pense comment on utilise l'ensemble des inputs de certains produits comme output des autres, qui deviennent etc. C'est une autre conception de l'économie. Il y a ce qu'on appelle l'économie de la fonctionnalité. L'économie de la fonctionnalité, c'est très important. C'est ce qu'on a, par exemple, dans les problèmes de mobilité. C'est centré sur la valeur d'usage des biens. On ne cherche pas tous à être propriétaires du même bien et à s'en servir un jour par semaine. On partage le même bien, chacun un jour de la semaine. C'est l'idée de l'auto-partage, etc. Bien. Tous ces modèles sont des modèles qui sont porteurs d'avenir. Et donc, de ce point de vue, c'est vrai que la transition écologique, c'est compliqué, mais c'est une chance. C'est une chance de réintroduire la démocratie, c'est une chance de réintroduire les communautés locales qui vont gérer ces biens. Les biens globaux, le climat, c'est aussi un bien local. Si le climat n'est pas géré localement avec les émissions de CO2, avec les espaces verts, etc., il n'est pas gérable. Il faudra des mesures globales, mais il faut aussi des mesures locales. Et donc, de ce point de vue, même une chose aussi énorme que le climat donne une chance de démocratie et donne une chance de gestion locale.